What's up, guys? So, Thor Ragnarok is about Thor. He gets captured somewhere in between the 9 realms and is forced to fight in a gladiator-type arena. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Odin is still gone, so back on Asgard, the throne is stolen by Hela, who is Thor and Loki's sister, who is evil and wants to take over Asgard. And so now Thor has to find a way to get back to Asgard to prevent Ragnarok, which is basically the end of everything in the 9 realms. So this is definitely a Thor movie like we haven't seen yet. The last 2 Thor movies were not big in my book. I always felt they were the weakest movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I never saw the first one because it didn't look like something that interested me, but I did see the second one. For some reason, I don't know why, because it looked just as uninteresting as the first one to me, but anyways, I was thoroughly bored the whole time, and I think I even fell asleep in the theater. I'm sorry, I just never really cared about the Thor movie's mythology. But I can happily say that this movie, thankfully, did make me finally care about the Thor movie's mythology. So there are a lot of actors in this movie, so I thought I would just go through all of them really quickly. Chris Hemsworth as Thor and Tom Hiddleston as Loki are hilarious. They have kind of the same sense of humor in this movie, but I think Loki has more of a dry sense of humor, while Thor has more of a subtle sense of humor. Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie was a great new addition to the Thor movies and had a pretty good arc. That's actually one positive thing that I could definitely say about all the characters in this movie. They all have really good individual arcs, all which are different from character to character. Jeff Goldblum plays Jeff Goldblum, playing as the Grandmaster, and I'm perfectly okay with that. He can Jeff Goldblum all over the place as far as I'm concerned. He's become aware of himself and of how he acts in pretty much every role, and by this point has just chosen to embrace it, which I think is what all Jeff Goldblum fans want anyways at this point in his acting career. Cate Blanchett as Hela looks like she is just having so much fun with this role, and she is just chewing the scenery as much as she can, and it is just awesome. Also, she looks gorgeous. I think she's like 49 years old if I remember right, and she looks damn good for 49. Granted, 49 is not that old, but I mean, it's still getting up there, so for 49, she looks like she's 35. So that's pretty good. Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner is great as always, but what was probably even better in this movie was him as Hulk. We actually get to see Hulk talk for the first time, I believe, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it was hilarious. Whenever he's not fighting or smashing something, he's just acting like a big green baby. Taika Waititi, the director, is actually in the movie. He plays Korg and is easily one of the better comedy elements that really sticks out in a movie that is jam-packed with comedy at every turn. Speaking of comedy, this is definitely one of the funniest movies in the MCU so far. And if I remember, I think Taika Waititi, the director, said that 80% of this movie was improvised. Which, if that is really true, then that is very impressive. You could tell with the success of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies that the filmmakers of this movie took a cue from those movies, and I think it's going to pay off. But finishing out my opinions of the actors in this movie, there are Karl Urban as Scourge, Idris Elba as Heimdall, and Anthony Hopkins as Odin that have smaller roles, but from the little less that we saw from them, they were still as good as all the other characters with bigger roles. Also, no spoilers, but there's a pretty magical cameo in this movie that is also hilarious, and I think you guys will love. And just a couple final things. I thought the special effects were great, as all the other Marvel movies these days. The movie was 2 hours and 10 minutes, but it didn't feel like it because I was invested in the story the whole time. If I had any criticisms with this movie, I would say Taika Waititi, as a director, needs to work on his fight scenes. I thought they were just a little lacking at times and a little dull, but they were still not bad. That's probably the only semi-negative thing that I could come up for this movie, though. Anyways, like I said, this movie is extremely funny, but it's not just funny. At times it actually has a lot of heart and gets a little emotional, which I thought was also a nice surprising addition, and I would recommend you guys go see this movie as soon as possible. I think you'll have such a fun time at the movies if you choose to go and see this. I'm going to give Thor Ragnarok an A. Alright guys, that's all I have for this week. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.